The AFC North might be the toughest quarterback division in football right now. You got a 2-time MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson, a 4-time MVP Super Bowl winning quarterback stepping into a new system with a former head coach, Aaron Rodgers. We got Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow. And we still got a franchise trying to figure out which quarterback is actually theirs in Cleveland. So when you start ranking projection instead of reputation, the AFC North quarterback rankings are not what you think.
Motion left to right, there's nothing there. Now he tries to run, breaks a tackle, dives for the end zone, fumbled the football, left sideline, midfield, 40, 30, 20, 10, touchdown!
Yeah, there we go.
Throws back of the end zone. There's CeeDee Lamb.
Unbelievable!
We're back. You're listening to Football is Money on footballismoney.com. Here's your host. They call me boss.
Welcome back to Football is Money. I'm your host. They call me boss. Appreciate everybody for tapping in as we continue working through our division by division quarterback projection series across the NFL. We already worked our way through every division across the league, breaking down how these quarterback situations are evolving heading into this season. And now we've reached the final stop in the series, the AFC North. And this division forces the projection model to answer a different kind of question, right? Because right now, across this division, 3 teams are working with new head coaching structures. 2 teams are still working through quarterback uncertainty, and only 1 quarterback head coach duo stayed the same. And that changes how projection works inside the AFC North. And as we move through this episode, remember the $100 Football is Money giveaway is still active. So stay tapped in because there's another opportunity in this episode to position yourself with another bonus entry. Before we start ranking quarterbacks, we have to start with what actually happened last year, honestly. Because in a division like this one, availability matters, efficiency matters, and context matters, right? Aaron Rodgers, he played pretty much a full season. He had 16 games. He finished with 3,322 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 94.8 passer rating. That's a complete production sample, right? Across an entire season. And when a veteran quarterback gives you 16 games of stability inside a transitioning environment, their production still carries projection weight entering next year. Now, heading into this season, Rodgers' situation in Pittsburgh is still conditional, right? If he decides to play again, then he is the expected starter. If he decides to step away, the Steelers are prepared to move forward with Will Howard. So, either way you look at it, Pittsburgh enters this season still working through quarterback identity at the position, which places the Steelers alongside Cleveland as one of the 2 teams in this division still defining their long-term quarterback structure. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. He played 13 games last season. He finished with, 2,549 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, a 103.75 passer rating. So even without a full season of availability, the efficiency stayed exactly where you expect it to be from a 2-time MVP quarterback operating inside a high output offense, right? That matters when you're projecting forward. Joe Burrow played 8 games last season, and he finished with 1,809 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a 100.6 passer rating, which reinforces something we already know about Cincinnati. When Burrow is on the field, the offense works, the production works, the structure works. So the projection conversation around the Bengals quarterback position this year isn't about capability, it's about availability. Now, Cleveland's situation looked completely different from the rest of this division last season, right? Because Cleveland, they didn't operate with one starting quarterback. They opened the season, I think, with Joe Flacco. Then they transitioned into Dylan Gabriel. Then after injury adjustments and everything, Shedeur Sanders finally got a chance in the starting lineup. So instead of evaluating one quarterback production inside Cleveland last year, what we are really evaluating is a position that never fully settled at any point during the season, right? You had multiple starters. You got multiple offensive identities. You had multiple adjustments across the year. And entering this season, that question is still active because Cleveland is now operating inside an open competition between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. Both quarterbacks are planning to take first-team reps this offseason, which makes Cleveland the only team in the division still clearly deciding who their quarterback is going to be moving forward, right? So when you step back and look across the AFC North quarterback production landscape from last season, one team had full availability, 2 teams showed elite efficiency and limited availability, and 2 teams are still working through quarterback identity issues entering this season. And when that's the starting point for a division entering a season with multiple changing quarterback timelines, projection starts becoming more important than reputation again. Because reputation tells you what quarterback's done already. Projection tells you what they're about to do next, right? And in the AFC North this year, that difference is exactly why these rankings don't look like, what people expect them to look like. All right? But before we get there, let's talk about the coaching structure. This was a high coaching carousel. Now, once you understand what each quarterback actually produced last season, the next step is understanding what changed around them. Because in the AFC North this year, coaching structure might impact the quarterback projection just as much as the quarterback talent itself. Baltimore comes in with a new coaching structure in place, and that matters. Because when leadership changes around the MVP level quarterback like Jack, the question isn't whether the offense can produce. The question becomes how their production gets structured from week to week, inside a new environment. And even with that transition happening, Baltimore still enters the season as the early betting favorite to win the AFC North, which tells you something important about how the market sees this team. Elite quarterback play still travels, even through coaching transitions. Cincinnati becomes the most stable quarterback coaching pairing anywhere in the AFC North. Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor remain together inside the same offensive structure, same system, same communication, same identity. And because of that continuity, Cincinnati enters the season as the primary challenger to Baltimore in most division projections, right? And that's not just about talent. That's about stability inside the most important position pairing in football. Because when the quarterback and head coach stay together while the rest of the division resets around them, the projection floor stays higher. Pittsburgh enter the season inside a different kind of transition, though. Aaron Rodgers, he could still return as the starter, but if he decides to step away, the offense is expected to move forward with Will Howard. So, unlike Baltimore and Cincinnati, the Steelers are still working through what their quarterback structure is going to look like, right? And the division odds reflect that uncertainty. Pittsburgh is still expected to remain competitive inside this division, but they're positioned behind Baltimore and Cincinnati entering this year, which tells you that the market sees strength on the roster, but transition at the most important position. And that's going to drop them, even though they won the division last year, right? And then we got Cleveland, a team coming into this season with a new head coaching structure and an open quarterback competition at the same damn time. Right now, the Browns are evaluating both of their quarterbacks, as possible starters, and the organization has not ruled out adding another quarterback if the room still needs clarity. So while the roster still has talent, the timeline at quarterback is still being defined. It's crazy, right? And because of that uncertainty, Cleveland enters the season as the longest shot to win the division. Not because the roster lacks ability, but because quarterback stability still drives projection inside a division, especially a division like this one. So, again, when you step back and look across the AFC North entering this season, Baltimore is favored because elite quarterback play still anchors the division. Cincinnati is positioned right behind them because continuity still matters more than change. Pittsburgh remains competitive but transitional. And Cleveland is still building clarity at the most important position in football. And when the coaching structures shift across multiple teams inside one division at the same time, projection starts becoming more important than reputation all over again. Because structure shapes quarterback production just as much as the talent does. I know we talk a lot about this coaching thing, but it's very important. And this is exactly why understanding projection matters more than ever heading into this season. Because when coaching structures change, when quarterback timelines shift, and when divisions start resetting around new leadership, that's where the real advantages start showing up for fantasy players and for bettors who are paying attention, right? That's exactly what we focus on inside the Football is Money community. So if you're still trying to find your fantasy destination for this season, if you're still looking for a league you can play in, for the years to come, a league that's competitive, consistent, and actually help you understand different ways to approach fantasy football as you go, this is the year to join the Football is Money leagues, right? This year we're structuring the league just like the NFL. We're going to have 4 divisions. You're going to be division winners, automatically advance to the playoffs, and 2 wildcard teams earn the final postseason spots. So the formats rewards consistency across the entire season, not just one hot stretch. And if you're new to fantasy football or, still learning roster construction, draft timing, and weekly lineup strategy, the training league is designed specifically for that environment. It gives you a place to compete while also learning how to manage your roster the right way across the full season. And this year, we're keeping it simple. We're only going to do a few leagues, 1 community structure, limited openings. So if you're planning to play with us this season, make sure you head over to Football is Money and hit that apply button because spots are still available. Because once these divisions fill up, they're locked in for the year. All right. Now, for my bettors, this is also the time of the year where structure matters the most. We got division eyes popping off, quarterback timelines changing, coaching transitions, player usage changes, all of that. These are the windows where leverage shows up before the season even starts. So if you're getting your account set, before kickoff begins, you can also head over to Football is Money and access the Bovada sign up. Yeah, we doing everything. It's multiple sign up bonuses right now available depending on how you planning to play this season. And before we move into the quarterback rankings for this division, one more thing. The $100 Football is Money giveaway wheel is still active. Every episode gives you another opportunity to improve your position. If your name shows up in red, there's a step missing. If your name shows up in green, your entry is verified. If your name shows up in gold, that means you earned a bonus entry from a strong football take. So stay tapped in through this episode because there is another opportunity right here today to position yourself for a bonus entry, right? And now that the structure around this division is clear, the coaching changes are understood, and the projection landscape across the AFC North is clear, now it's time to set the quarterback rankings, right? But before we set these rankings, I know, but look, I wanna do something a little different in this episode, right? Because there's a question people almost never ask when they rank quarterbacks. And that question is, what are you ranking for? Are you ranking for legacy? Because if you're ranking for legacy, then nobody in this division is touching Aaron Rodgers. 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame quarterback, right? That conversation isn't close. If you're ranking athletic production, because, if that's the category, then you're looking at Lamar Jackson. Elite rushing ability, elite playmaking, outside structure, and one of the most dynamic quarterbacks anywhere in football, when he's operating at full speed, of course. Are you ranking passing efficiency? Because if that's the lens, then that conversation starts with Joe Burrow, the accuracy, the timing, touchdown production through the air, and command of the passing position itself when he's healthy. Then if you're ranking upside potential, then that conversation brings you back to Shedeur because he's the biggest unknown variable in this division right now. He has the widest range of outcomes, and he's the quarterback people are either expecting to break out in a big way or, kind of fail and fall flat on his face. So when people build quarterback rankings, everybody is ranking something different. Some people rank legacy. Some people rank athletic production, Some people rank upside. Some people rank reputation, It's all about what you are looking for individually. But here at Football is Money, right now what we are doing, we are ranking projection. We rank the quarterback most likely to meet expectations week after week across a full season. We rank the quarterbacks that you can build a fantasy roster around. The quarterbacks you can trust inside betting matchups and prop environments, right? Because the best fantasy quarterbacks not always the ones winning games by double scores every week. Sometimes the best quarterback for your fantasy team are the ones who teams need them to throw the ball for 4 full quarters, right? Sometimes the best fantasy quarterbacks are the ones who offense runs directly through them every single week. Sometimes the best fantasy quarterbacks are the ones that's still fighting for points in the fourth quarter and hopefully overtime sometimes, right? So when you start ranking quarterbacks through that lens, availability matters, usage matters, offensive structure matters, and weekly opportunities is a big factor, right? So before we reveal these AFC North quarterback rankings, here's the bonus entry question for this week. What are you ranking for? Is it legacy? Is it athletic production, upside potential, or fantasy and betting production like I am? Drop your answer in the comments and you might earn yourself a gold bonus entry on the wheel for this week. And remember, next week we spin the wheel. Now that we've looked at what each quarterback produced last season, and now we understand how coaching structure is shifting across this division, and now we've clarified what we are actually ranking quarterbacks for here at Football is Money. Now it's time to set the AFC North quarterback rankings, right? And we're going to run through it real quick. Coming in at number 4, we got Shedeur. I'm starting with him because, he's the biggest variable in this division right now. He's stepping into an open quarterback competition. He's working inside a new coaching structure. And Cleveland as an organization is still defining what the position is going to look like moving forward. Now, personally, I do believe Cleveland may already have their quarterback of the future in Shedeur Sanders, but right now, there are still decisions being made inside that building, right? There are still moving pieces around the position, and until the offense clearly runs through him week to week, that uncertainty limits projection, reliability entering this season. So because of the uncertainty around the structure, uncertainty around the role, and uncertainty around usage week to week, Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, whoever it may be, comes in at number 4 entering this season. Was that quick? All right. Number 3, we got Aaron Rodgers. AR8. Used to be AR12. Now he AR8. And let me say this clearly first, man. You know, there's not a more decorated quarterback in this division, you know, than Aaron Rodgers. 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Fame player. Their legacy speaks for itself, right? But we're not ranking legacy here. We're ranking projection. And entering this season, Rodgers' role in Pittsburgh is still conditional. If he returns, he likely starts. If he step away, Will Howard gets the keys. So even though the experience still matters and understanding the system still matters and everything like that, the long-term structure at quarterback in Pittsburgh is still being defined. And inside a division this competitive, projection stability matters. And that's why Aaron Rodgers come in at number 3 entering this season. But I'm going to give you something else. Aaron Rodgers got Mike McCarthy fired in Green Bay. In Pittsburgh, I do not see Mike McCarthy starting Aaron Rodgers as quarterback starting the season. That's just me. Number 2, Lamar Jackson. And this is where the rankings become more difficult because Lamar Jackson absolutely has the ability to be the highest weekly fantasy producer in this entire division. His rushing upside changes that alone. His mobility creates scoring opportunity most quarterbacks simply don't have. And when he's operating at full MVP level, he can carry an offense in multiple ways. But part of projection also includes cost. Because if you're drafting Lamar Jackson in fantasy this season, you're likely spending one of your earlier picks on him. And when you invest that early at quarterback, you are making a roster construction decision. So while Lamar absolutely has QB1 overall potential, the draft cost matters. The draft cost matters inside projection value for this one. And that's the only reason he lands at number 2 instead of number 1 in this projection structure. All right, that's how I see it. Costs too much, man. Number 1, you already know who it is, man. It's Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, because if we are ranking quarterbacks based on projection value inside fantasy environments, passing production matters, and touchdowns upside across the full season matters. Joe Burrow gives you one of the strongest projection profiles in this division when healthy, like every quarterback, right? He has the ability to throw for high yardage totals. He has the ability to throw multiple touchdowns consistently. And inside Cincinnati offensive structure, the passing offense runs directly through him. Those guys don't look the same without him, right? Now, Lamar Jackson can absolutely outproduce him in certain weeks with, his rushing upside. But from a draft value standpoint and everything that we just talked about, there's a strong chance that you can acquire Joe Burrow later than Lamar Jackson. And when you combine production potential, offensive structure, touchdown ceiling, and draft position value, that creates the strongest projection profile in this division entering this year. Which is why Joe Burrow comes in at number 1. All right. So Heading into this season, the AFC North quarterback rankings look like this. Number 1, Joe Shiesty. Number 2, we got my guy, Lamar Jackson. Aaron Rodgers at number 3, Shedeur Sanders at number 4, or Deshaun Watson. However that go. And depending on what you're ranking for, your order might look completely different. If you're ranking legacy, your board changes. If you're ranking athletic production, your board changes again. If you're ranking upside potential, it's a complete 180. But if you're ranking projection value across a full season for fantasy environments and betting leverage, well, this is how the AFC North stacks up entering this year. And inside a division where 2 quarterback rooms are still defining their long-term structure, projection matters more than reputation this season. All right? Keep that in mind before you get ready to draft. Hopefully, you're drafting here with Football is Money. All right? And that's going to do it for this episode of Football is Money. And as always, man, I appreciate everybody for tapping in. I hope you enjoyed the show. And I hope you gained some insight as we wrapped up this division by division quarterback projection series across the league. And before we get out of here, quick reminder, the $100 Football is Money giveaway wheel is still active. We'll be spinning the wheel next week. You know, we're going to announce the winner for April. After that spin, the wheel resets, which means everyone earns their entry again for the month of May. So if you want your name back on the wheel next month, make sure you stay active with the show and keep those football takes coming in. You know what I'm talking about? And with this episode, that officially wraps up our division by division quarterback projection series. The NFL draft is tomorrow. So next week, we'll be breaking down the whole ranking for the AFC, 1 through 16 for the quarterbacks. And we're going to go over the draft as well, right? New roster changes and whether any of these decisions shift the quarterback rankings we just said across the league. So make sure you stay tapped in for that, all right? And as always, footballismoney.com is where you can find everything we got going on across the platform. If this your first time watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, tell a friend to tell a friend. All right? Appreciate you for watching. I'm your host, they call me Boss. This is Football is Money, and we out.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to Football is Money. Find every episode and more at footballismoney.com.